I play your indie games on itch. Coming up.
I dodge a lot of projectiles. I dodge a lot of bubbles. I go looting for cash. And I experiment with mind-altering virtual drugs.
I'm Xanderwood. I make indie games and tutorials on game development. I also play your indie games every week on my channel. Make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon so you never miss a video.
100 Stage Dodge Game by OK Noble Dev is a game where you need to survive 100 levels. I love it. Just tell me what needs to be done early. Unless I'm unraveling a deep story-driven RPG, I simply just prefer to know. The graphics are minimalistic, making use of basic geometric shapes to create enemies and projectiles, which actually works just fine. This isn't trying to be something it's not. I particularly liked the particles, and the puddles of particles left behind after an enemy dies. The colours were minimal, and again, this lent itself to the overall feel of the game well. The sound effects and menu music were great and fitting. However, although the effects were good, the game could definitely benefit from a soundtrack. Perhaps check out the music packs available on my itch.io page. Here's another idea. Make some kind of currency that you can collect while playing. This can then be redeemed to unlock new music tracks, different colour palettes, and additional buffs that the player can pick up to replace the dash. This will add a massive replayability element. When the game starts, you get the option to start a new game or a story. What's the difference? I clicked New Game as it was at the top, but why have both? Why not make the story game the default game? Keep it simple and try not to spread the simplicity the game offers too thinly. After I finished playing, I came back and clicked on the story to see how different the game mode was. But instead of a game mode, it was a page of text explaining the backstory of the game. Why not just have this as part of the opening monologue, either voice acted or with text? The controls are simple. Use WASD to move and avoid enemies, with a dash that can be triggered by pressing the spacebar. For some reason, the crosshair mouse icon remained on the screen after the game started. I tried moving it and clicking all over the place, but it didn't seem to do anything. If it's not needed, I'd just make it invisible, or remove it altogether. It's a fun little arcade game. I think you should add more enemy variety though, as 100 levels with just 3 types of enemies is a recipe for repetitiveness, and this could lead to the player getting bored and giving up prematurely. Whilst I was playing, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could influence the game by moving behind enemies as I was being shot at to get the enemies to kill one another? Perhaps this is a mechanic you could add in. Lemon Boy by Maxileo36 is a top-down shooter where you play as a cute lemon boy who can manipulate time. You have the ability to speed up, slow down, and even stop time altogether, which is the superpower I choose when asked that all-important question, which superpower would you like most? Ultimately, it's a high-score game. Survive as long as you can with 1 life. On a plus, all the enemies in the game, including the boss, have just 1 life too. The pixel art graphics are truly fantastic. I love the trail effect on the projectiles and all the wonderful animations. The title screen is really well made and everything just works so well together. From the colour palette to the character design. Great job. The only thing I'd change is the crosshair sprite. I kept losing track of it because it was a lemon and round and similar in shape and colour to all the projectiles. The wonderfully retro chiptune style soundtrack fits the game aesthetics so well, and the sound effects are juicy. Although I'd love to have some pitch variation on the shooting and collisions, as they were so frequently used it felt a bit repetitive at times. I also think the music tempo should slow down well in slow mode, and a different tune altogether when stopping time. This would complement the gameplay much more. Oh man, is it hard to grasp, especially when time is sped up. I think the player should have a slight advantage over the projectiles. Perhaps consider making Lemon Boy just a little faster. I do understand that there is an element of strategy involved in terms of planning your moves, but at times it felt a little unfair. With that said though, I think the concept is really interesting and would probably make a very fun turn-based game. I enjoyed this game a lot. Normally high score based games need a lot to keep you coming back to try again and again. but the wonderful soundtrack and cute retro graphics made my time with the game longer than it otherwise would have been. I did manage to reach the first boss once after many attempts, which was satisfying, but I would suggest reducing the difficulty a little, as the feeling of progression will entice more people to come back time and time again to try and get a new high score. Vinny and the Factory with Cash by Sid Fish. There is a new video game on the scene, monkeys with guns, apes with grenades, and all the kids in town need to own a copy. The only problem is, Vinny is fresh out of cash and can't afford it. You now need to head over to a factory downtown that for some reason contains a ton of free cash lying about. I wish I had one of those near to my house. And collect some dosh so you can buy the darn thing. I love the style Sid Fish was going for. It was kinda cartoony, yet very clean looking. The layouts and background artwork were simple and fitting, really adding to the immersion of the game. The HUD was perfect and gave you all the info you needed without getting in its own way. The look and feel of the enemies, battery packs, doors, moving platforms were all so cohesive, and nothing seemed out of place. Plus, the squishiness of the character was a beautiful touch. The music was awesome, I loved it, and it was so catchy. The sound effects were minimal, but I didn't get any sense that the game was lacking any, except for maybe a pushing sound when pushing batteries or crates. The controls were tight and the character handled just fine. The difficulty was spot on too. The enemies were challenging enough to be fun, but not so much that I wanted to rage quit every 10 seconds. I liked how your goal was to collect the cash, but as I played through the game, I did miss some, and I didn't realise that doing so would not let me finish the game. After I beat the final room, I still needed one more stack of cash, and had no idea which room I'd left it in. It's a perfect little puzzle platformer. It looks and plays beautifully, and the puzzles are well thought out and get progressively more challenging. The character design is cute and well animated. The game has nothing that it doesn't essentially need, which is refreshing, as sometimes you can get bogged down with too many unnecessary details, which end up hindering the gameplay. Wild Dose First Session by Lapisoft is a glitchy first-person cyberpunk RPG adventure in a world where virtual drugs are used to escape from reality. Complete missions and seek refuge in cyberdrugs. Explore digital universes, build a relationship with your AI.
I hope you won't regret it. Do you even know what you're getting into?
And learn to survive with the mysterious creator of Wild Dose. The graphics are simply stunning. The world you're presented with seems very well thought out and rich with detail, giving you the impression that you really are in a vast world full of possibilities and new discoveries. Everything from the sand on the beach at the start of the game, to the trees, the NPCs, and the virtual world you visit are beautifully crafted. The shadows and lighting effect are nicely done, and the UI elements, menu screens, and on-screen dialogue between you and your AI are stunning. The sound doesn't disappoint. From the crashing waves on the beach to the product placement advertisements in-game are perfectly fitting.
It's sad, but we're lucky to have fresh air. Fresh air, let nature come to you.
I thought the voice acting was brilliant and instantly drew my attention in. Sound is a critical element in game development, and this game understands that fully. It is simply captivating. Essentially, it's a first-person RPG adventure, but I really liked the ability to make my own choices. It gave me a real sense of control, as if I was determining the outcome of my playthrough. I'd like to see more of this in the game. Sometimes I'd get choices, but other times there would only be one answer to pick, which seemed to slow things down a little. The story was instantly attention-grabbing, and I felt a connection with the characters. The relationship with the AI develops as you play, and you soon discover that not all is as it appears.
Okay, I have to confess, you're not alone. Can't wait to meet your new friends. Be patient, that moment will come soon enough.
This is a great game, there is no question, and worthy of a price tag on Steam for sure. If you like story-driven cyberpunk RPG games with twists and turns, then I would go check this one out. There's a link in the description. If If you'd like to submit your game for a playthrough on the channel, there is a link in the description. Please note that I don't play games that are only for mobile devices, and if the game has a price tag, please be sure to send me the download key. Finally, before we say goodbye, just a massive shout out to my wonderful Patreon supporters: James Welch, Basic Terror, Cole, Tomorrow Lexic, Zan, Retro Galaxy, Clone 13, Foozle CC, Space Spy, and Fan. Thank you guys for supporting my game dev journey. You guys are awesome, and until the next video, take care of yourselves and have a great week.